Okay guys, so today I will be showing the Fiendsmith version of my White Forest deck profile for the Alliance Insight format. I have some extremely specific reasonings behind the inclusion and exclusion of certain cards in both the main and extra deck, so if you're interested in the deck theory, feel free to stick around. I'll also talk about how you could make some small tweaks if you want to change your game plan a little bit, because I have a very particular game plan in mind with the choices that I've made. If you just want a net deck, feel free to leave here. Okay, so I will begin with the non-engine because the implication of playing 6 Charmies in the main is not the same as in the pure version. Speaking of which, if you're more interested in the pure version without Fiendsmith, I will put the link in the description below. So if you are very worried about Droll, imagine a scenario where you win the dice roll, obviously you choose to go first, and your opponent Drolls you. So your basic fallback in the Fiendsmith version is to use the Fiendsmith stuff to go into either a Wave Hiking or a Desiree, and you will either do that because you've drawn Sanct and you can make that play. You will have used Engraver, gotten Drolled, but you search Sanct instead of Tracked, so you can still make the play. Or you started with your White Forest engine and you turn your 2 bodies into Closed Heaven so that after Droll you can still put a monster up. The problem is, basically no good deck is going to lose to just a Wave King or a Desiree if you have no other interactions. In this type of scenario, in many cases, you won't have another on-field interaction, and so you will be relying on either Wave Hiking or Desiree, and then the hand traps in your hand. But going first means you could not have sided out any of your Charmies. So if you are super worried about Droll and you think that everyone is going to be maining Droll, there is an argument for taking out at least half of the Charmies and replacing them with Droll or Bell. Bell is absolutely the next hand trap I would be playing, I just don't have space for it. Or you can take all out and put in 3 Droll and 3 Bell, and then you can feel probably relatively safe. Okay, in terms of the Fiendsmith engine, I was kind of unsure about this for a while, but I wanted the best combination of playing around Droll, lowest possible main deck count, and least number of bricks. Playing, Tracked and more Engravers and Lurie and whatever increases the main deck count, which actually does matter. It does not matter in most decks, but it matters in our deck because we want to draw multiple card combinations together, and the math on that drops way faster than the math on drawing just 1 card starters. So you can't play 1 Engraver and 1 Lacrima to get around that, dropping even closer to 40 because you would be adding 2 bricks into your deck. Whereas if you play, double Engraver with also a search target, none of these cards are actually bricks, debatably besides the Lacrima. Although, of course, this is full combo by itself. Okay. Also, it's worth mentioning that if you do have to normal summon the Lacrima, and so therefore you can't normal summon the Sylvie, but you have access to Field Spell, you can Field Spell turn your LZ or your Azamina LZ into a tuner, and you still get to make Arciela, so it's just worth remembering that. Before I show you the replay to explain this in a little bit more detail, the choices I've made here, I want to talk about these bricks quickly. So I was debating between playing 3-ish bricks and 4-ish bricks. If you play 3 bricks, and you go to 4, the difference is 30-ish% of the time to 40-ish% of the time, you will draw a brick. And I think that 3 in 10 games to 4 in 10 games drawing a dead card is worth the trade-off you get here because of the following reasons. Firstly, Sinful Spoils of the White Forest is a back row layer. You do not have good back row layers in this deck unless you choose to play stuff like Woes or Aface or Morian or Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. But this one is both the most searchable because it is both a Sinful Spoils name and a White Forest name, and is also probably the most flexible in the sense that, for example, you're playing Fiendsmith stuff, Sol is an illusion and a fiend. Regina is an illusion and a level 6 or higher fiend, and Engraver is a level 6 or higher fiend. So there are lots of different types of plays you can make with this, and all of your typical end boards and half boards, this card should be live. So it is not an option not to have a back row layer. If you think of Malice, a deck with endless layers, you simply have to have layers. You don't want to lose to a single Dark Ruler or a Lightning Storm when you don't have a way to stop the Lightning Storm calling your monsters. In addition to that, Paradise gives you a graveyard layer, which isn't just adding a new type of layer we wouldn't already have, but also it really helps to play around the Dark Lock. So I will show you that in a replay in a second. The last thing I want to mention is Foolish Burial Goods should be debatably considered a staple White Forest card because despite the fact that Diabell's the White Witch can be searched by your entire deck, please remember Twitter combos are not real life and your opponent unfortunately is not asleep. So your opponent will never, ever allow you to resolve Diabell's and get the Vengeance live. Vengeance being live means not just a pop, but it's a very hard to predict type of interaction because you don't know if they will summon Mystic Mystery, which doesn't even have to go into Execute. They could go into Legatia, for example. If they already have Execute, you don't know if they're playing Crimson Dragon. And then they don't even have to make this card. They could make Arciela Search Veiler. They could make Silvera Eclipse your field. You have no idea what they're going to summon off of the Vengeance. So your opponent never wants you to get to this card. So while you are doing your basic ladder, whether they stop you early or they wait until you, are trying to get access to Diabells, they will always try to stop you from doing this. So Foolish Burial Goods allows you to dump Curse, which adds Filius, which gives you Diabells, and Diabells gives you Vengeance. And this is an excellent insurance policy for always getting access to the Diabells Vengeance package. And you may be wondering, but what happens if they don't stop you from getting to it? Isn't this just a dead card in your hand? No, that's why you play Goat. Goat is mandatory for the Foolish Burial package, Foolish Burial Goods package, specifically because you do not want to clog on a burial and access to Witch. So Goods, giving you Black Goat Laughs, if you've gone first and you already had access to Bells, is just a free layer that your opponent can't interact with and great for beating stuff like Detonator or White Binder or whatever. Also, if you go second, it's like a pseudo breaker for the same reasons, Detonator, Binder, whatever it is you're trying to call. Okay, so now let me show you the replay so that I can explain why I've made some of these choices. I'm not going to go into detail on how this combo works because I've already done this before, and I'll put links in the description if you want more informative videos on this, but I just want to show you that even if you're completely uninterrupted, right, which is not realistic, but even if you are, the Dark Lock does matter, and it should influence what you've chosen to play in your extra deck. So let us try not to be Dark Locked for as long as possible, and do the very basic ladder where we go into Diabell with Azamina LZ, and this gives us our Deception, so that we can get access to our Azamina engine. So here we bring out our Sylvie by shuffling back Arciela for a free tribute off of Deception, so we can Hallowed Azamina for the Murcielago, which gives us Wanted. We can add back Hallowed by shuffling back Azamina LZ to give us the Wanted Fusion Summon, which searches our Black Witch. So now we have Ilya Sylvia, the Omni Negate, and by the way, you will always Omni Negate before you go for Diabells. If you have drawn this card or you have hidden it in your sock before the match started, you will never use this until there is protection so that you know that this will resolve. Okay, also there's no reason to go for Fiendsmith stuff and like beg for a nib if you already have access to this. So if you're playing the Fiendsmith stuff, you probably still make the Omni Negate first anyhow. Okay, so now you go for the Fiendsmith line. And the issue here is that we've been Dark Locked, okay? And this can happen. I'm not saying that this exact line is the way that you're supposed to do the combo. I'm saying that in real games, when your opponent stops you playing the way you want to play, you will not even have a choice of when to Dark Lock yourself. You will often be forced to Dark Lock yourself just to be able to play. So I'm showing you that even if you can full combo, okay, and you're doing like a great combo where you get the Diabells, you dump the Curse, you get Filius, you get Vengeance, you summon Vengeance, and you have a great looking board, on your field right now, you could not make Wayfight King Caesar because you can't make Necroquip because that is a dark. As I mentioned before, Desiree does not help you make your end board better because that's not the problem. We have infinite access to end board pieces. We don't need more end bosses. What we need is more layers in more different places. So right now, Lacrima on field at a bare minimum means two things. First of all, we have the Paradise set up out of turn, so we can dump our Desiree and get a pop. It's very hard for our opponent to interact with that. Secondly, it means that we have follow-up pushes out of turn because Engraver can shuffle back Closed Heaven, bring out the Requiem, force an interaction when we try to send something, be half of a Chaos Angel on its own. And also, remember this is a Fiend, and we're always searching for Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, so we can go for, like our Sol or whatever out of turn. So there are many different reasons that you should play this, and I think the strongest reason is because it gives you a different type of layer in a different location you would not normally have access to. And for that reason, I think it is worth going from 3-ish bricks to 4-ish bricks. Okay. I think that's basically it for now. When I have some actual good gameplay, I will show that. I may do a little bit more beginner series stuff, and I'll probably cover another archetype in a little bit too. So thanks for watching. Oh, and last thing, if you're still watching and you're not subscribed, apparently 60% of people that watch my videos are not subscribed. You don't have to, because I'm just doing this for fun, but it'd be a lot cooler if you did. Anyhow, feel free to also join the Discord and at me if you need any help. Thanks for watching.